You ever heard of the Business Roundtable? Washington's mega business lobby, Boeing, is part of the Business Roundtable. So is Walmart and Bank of America and ExxonMobil. FedEx is part of it, PepsiCo. If you can name a big corporation in America, if you know their name and their logo, they're probably part of the Business Roundtable. And so the Business Roundtable tries to not make too many enemies in American politics. They don't want to make their customers mad. But they want to be heard. They want a voice. So this week, they released their plan to cut Medicare and Social Security spending. The Business Roundtable led that plan off with raising the Social Security retirement age to 70. Currently, for older Americans, that number is age 66, 67 for those born in 1960 or after. The Business Roundtable also wants to raise the age for Medicare eligibility from 65 to 70. Which is fairly remarkable. Even the House Republicans are only proposing 67. So the Business Roundtable is well to the GOP's right here. In the business press, though, their recommendations were treated as totally self-evident.
It only makes sense that adjustments have to be made now that we're living longer. Or fiscally, this will never make sense, and it doesn't add up. We know that. Naturally, people are afraid of change of any sort, and these entitlements are sacred cows for so many.
It only makes sense. Meanwhile, on Fox News, well, you watch.
Well, now we're hearing from a group of CEOs who are pushing a plan to gradually increase the retirement age to 70, saying that is what's best for the country's economy. I mean, I laugh because 70 is not old. I mean, like, are we supposed to react to that as though it's 90? Like, 70? Yeah, right. They have to work to 70?
Yes. Nothing like highly paid, very young television hosts mocking blue-collar workers who think 70 is kind of old to be standing on their feet on the job. 70. If you want to talk about cutting Social Security, that's fine. It's not an unreasonable point of view. You're allowed to have it. But this is people who make more money in a year than most Americans will make in a lifetime. People who love their jobs, who don't want to retire at 65 or 70 or 72, suggesting that somehow raising the retirement age is a painless cut because they can't imagine it hurting them. I talked about this on the show in November, too. In November, the rich guy talking was Goldman Sachs CEO Lloyd Blankfein.
Look at the history of these things, and Social Security wasn't devised to be a system that supported you for a 30-year retirement after a 25-year career. So there'll be certain things that, the retirement age has to be changed. Maybe some of the benefits have to be affected. Maybe some of the inflation adjustments have to be revised. But in general, entitlements have to be slowed down and contained.
As I said then, you need to remember that when we talk about these long life expectancies, how much longer we're all living, rich folks have gained a lot more of that time than poor folks. Since 1977, the life expectancy of male workers retiring at age 65 has risen 6 years for the top half of the income distribution. But if you're in that bottom half of the income distribution, you only gained an extra 1.3 years. 6 versus 1.3. And you know when most people actually begin taking Social Security benefits? They begin at age 62, not 65 or 66, 62, which is as early as the law allows you to take them. And when you take those benefits early, you get less over your lifetime. We penalize you for taking it early. We punish you for your impatience. But they do it anyway. And they do it because they don't want to spend their whole lives at that job. Unlike folks in finance or in U.S. Senate or writing for the nation's op-ed pages or who got cushy gigs on cable news, they don't want to work till they drop. So if you have a job you love and you're probably going to live well into your 90s and you don't need your Social Security money or your Medicare insurance anyway, don't pretend raising retirement age is painless. Don't pretend it doesn't hurt because it doesn't hurt you. But what makes us more galling from the Business Roundtable is that in the same document where they propose all this tough medicine for Social Security and Medicare, they exempt themselves. These exceedingly rich business leaders of the Roundtable are drawing the line when it comes to raising their own Social Security taxes. As the Reuters report put it, the group rejected shoring up Social Security by making incomes above the maximum annual threshold, which in 2012 was $110,000, subject to payroll taxes. They said that would hurt the economy. So why? Roundtable member and CEO of the casino giant Caesars has their answer. Quote, that would be far more damaging to economic growth than what we are asking people to consider. If you raise the tax rate on people who earn over the current threshold, you'll have an immediate and deleterious effect on employment and economic activity. So if you're a CEO who makes maybe $1 million, you're only taxed for Social Security on the first tenth of your income. If you're making $60,000 a year, normal worker, every one of your $60,000 is taxed for Social Security. And this is the kind of thing, it just drives me crazy. Because you know what the flip side of these guys loving their jobs and never, ever, ever wanting to leave, not even when they're old and their back hurts and they've got lots of grandkids and the money to take all those grandkids to an island? They're also not going to stop being CEO of Caesars because they're paying payroll taxes on more of their income, because they love their job. But that is the shell game that gets played here. Folks at the top have convinced themselves that things that won't hurt them at all, like raising retirement age, are easy no-brainers, that they won't hurt anybody at all. It is just common sense. And then they've also convinced themselves that things that will hurt them will devastate the economy. So when they're saying no to paying higher taxes, they're not being selfish. They're just protecting jobs and growth. As Upton Sinclair like to say, it is difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on him not understanding it. Groups like the Business Roundtable, they have a big voice, and they like to cloak themselves in the economy to argue that what they say and what they do are informed and driven by just wanting what is best for jobs and for growth and for their company. But it seems to often come down to what is best for the CEOs. It is good to be on the top.